Liam Carter never considered himself a man of grand gestures. As a botanist stationed on the distant exoplanet Velos 3, his interest revolved around soil compositions, plant adaptations, and the delicate ecosystems of alien flora. Romance had never factored into his calculations. Yet, on a seemingly ordinary afternoon, he performed an act that would alter the course of his life forever. He gave Sariya flowers. It wasn't a bouquet, not in the traditional sense. Rather, it was a cluster of luminous Varella blooms, a rare bioluminescent species he had painstakingly cultivated in the research outpost's greenhouse. The delicate, translucent petals pulsed with a soft indigo glow, their fragrance a subtle blend of citrus and earth. It was a simple token of appreciation, nothing more. Or so he thought. Sariya was an Athean, a member of an advanced, enigmatic species native to Velos. She had been assigned as the liaison between the human research team and her people, assisting in linguistic translations, environmental negotiations, and cultural exchanges. Though her form was humanoid, tall, elegant, with obsidian black eyes and shimmering cerulean skin, her mind, her customs, and her ways remained largely unfathomable to Liam. When he extended the flowers to her, she accepted them with an expression he could not decipher. For a long moment, she merely stared at the blooms, her long fingers grazing the glowing petals as though she were touching something sacred. Then, her gaze lifted to his, and a strange intensity burned within her dark irises. "You honor me beyond words, Liam Carter," she said, her voice hushed, reverent. Liam chuckled, oblivious to the weight of his actions. "It's just a small gift, Sariya. A thank you for all the help you've given me." A slow blink, a careful tilt of her head. "You would thank me in this way?" "Ah, yeah." Sariya inhaled sharply, then straightened, pressing the flowers to her chest as though cradling something precious. A warmth spread across her bioluminescent veins, a subtle glow beneath her skin that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. She whispered something in her native tongue, a soft, melodic utterance that sent a shiver down Liam's spine. And then, she said the words that sealed his fate. "I accept." Liam didn't fully grasp the magnitude of what had transpired until Commander Rains, his superior at the research outpost, slammed a datapad onto the table in front of him. "Do you have any idea what you've done, Carter?" Rain's voice was low, controlled, but carrying the unmistakable weight of impending doom. Liam blinked at him, baffled. Finished cataloging the latest specimens?" Rains pinched the bridge of his nose. "No, you just proposed marriage to Sariya, you idiot." Silence. Liam gave a dry, disbelieving chuckle. That's ridiculous." Rains swiped at the datapad, pulling up a detailed report filled with linguistic notes and cultural protocols. He scrolled down until a highlighted section stood out in bold red letters. The ritual of the Varella gift. In Athean culture, presenting a living Varella bloom to another is a sacred declaration of lifelong union. If accepted, the bond is recognized immediately, and dissolution of the engagement is considered a grave dishonor. Liam's stomach dropped. "You have got to be kidding me," he whispered. "I wish I was," Rains muttered. "We've spent years trying to build trust with the Athenians, and you just skipped about 12 diplomatic stages straight into a marriage alliance. Do you know what this means?" Liam did not, in fact, know what this meant. At that moment, the doors to the command center slid open, and Sariya stepped inside. She was adorned in intricate, ceremonial silks, her usual research attire replaced with flowing garments woven with iridescent fibers. A delicate circlet of silver and crystal rested upon her brow. The moment her eyes met Liam's, she smiled, a slow, knowing expression that sent his heart into an erratic rhythm. "I have prepared for our bonding ritual," she said simply. Liam barely managed to choke down his panic. The next few hours passed in a haze of frantic negotiations and desperate explanations. Liam tried, desperately, to make Sariya understand that humans did not share the same customs, that his gift had been a misunderstanding, that he hadn't intended to propose anything, let alone a lifelong bond. Sariya listened with composed patience. Then, after he finished stumbling through his explanation, She tilted her head in that unreadable way of hers and said, I see. Relief flooded Liam. Oh, thank God. So, you understand that? I understand, she interrupted gently, that human courtship customs differ. However, the gesture remains unchanged. You have given me the Varela willingly, and I have accepted. This bond is now sacred. Liam paled. But I didn't mean to. Her lips quirked slightly. Intent is not required. Only the act. Commander Rains groaned into his hands. Sariya took a step closer, her gaze searching Liam's face. Are you opposed to this bond? Was he? Liam opened his mouth, ready to protest, but then hesitated. He liked Sariya. She was intelligent, graceful, and endlessly fascinating. He had spent months working beside her, sharing discoveries, debates, and the occasional quiet moment of awe beneath Velo's three's twin moons. But marriage? His throat went dry. I don't know. Sariya nodded, as though expecting this answer. Then we shall proceed slowly. The bonding ceremony will take place in 3 cycles. If, by then, you wish to dissolve the union, I will consider it. That sounded suspiciously like not an option. Liam swallowed hard. 3 cycles? A month, by your measurement, she clarified. A month to figure out if he was about to become the first human in history to accidentally marry an alien. Liam exhaled sharply. Well, he muttered, I guess I'd better get used to being engaged. Saria's smile widened, her bioluminescent veins pulsing a shade brighter. Oh, Liam Carter, she murmured, amusement lacing her tone. You have no idea what you've started. Liam Carter had faced many challenges in his life, untamed alien landscapes, unpredictable planetary weather patterns, and the occasional bureaucratic nightmare of interstellar research funding. But nothing compared to accidentally getting engaged to an Athean. The first complication arose immediately after Saria's declaration. Liam, Commander Rains muttered under his breath as they watched Sariya exit the command center. The luminous Varela bloom still cradled in her hands. You need to fix this? Now. Liam pinched the bridge of his nose. Yeah? And how exactly do I do that? Sorry, Sariya, but I accidentally proposed and need to take it back? You saw her. She was serious. Rains exhaled sharply. You don't get it, Carter. The Athenians are an honor-bound species. If you back out of this the wrong way, it could be seen as a deep insult. We've spent years establishing a diplomatic relationship with them, and now you've gone and single-handedly brokered a marriage alliance between humanity and an alien species, Liam finished grimly. Rains gave him a look. Yes, that. Now, we have 30 days to either make this official or find a way to dissolve it without sparking an interstellar incident. Liam let out a slow, controlled breath. Right. No pressure, then. Day 1. The engagement announcement. Liam wasn't entirely sure how Athean bonding customs worked, but he quickly discovered that once an engagement was sealed, it was public knowledge. By the next morning, the Athean Liaison Council had already arranged a formal announcement ceremony. Liam Carter, I extend the knowledge of your bond to the stars, Sariya declared before a gathered assembly of humans and Athenians. Her voice was even, melodic, yet firm. Let it be known across the skies that our destinies now intertwine. Liam stood beside her, dressed in ceremonial robes someone had forced him into, long, flowing, and incredibly uncomfortable. He managed a stiff nod, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him. Yeah, he said awkwardly. Thanks, Sariya. It's, an honor. Sariya smiled, apparently satisfied. The gathered Athenians hummed in approval, a strange, harmonic sound that sent shivers down Liam's spine. Rains stood at the back, arms crossed, mouthing, Fix this. Day 3. The gifts begin. By the 3rd day, Liam learned another important Athean custom. Engagements involved gift-giving. Lots of it. Sariya arrived at the research outpost with a small ornate vessel made of iridescent crystal. I present to you a token of our bond, she said, offering it to him with both hands. Liam hesitated before taking it, glancing inside. His breath caught. Inside the vessel was a single droplet of silver liquid, suspended in the air as though held by invisible forces. It shimmered, reflecting shifting colors that seemed to defy logic. "This is," he asked cautiously. "The essence of the sky," Sariya said, watching him closely, "distilled from the first rains of our world. A symbol of renewal and unity." Liam's brain scrambled to process this. "This is very thoughtful," he said carefully. Sariya's smile was pleased. Then she touched his hand. Just a brief, delicate brush of her fingertips, but Liam felt it. A spark of warmth, something almost electric. His stomach twisted. He was in so much trouble. Day 7. The pressure increases. A week into his accidental engagement, Liam was starting to panic. The Athean bond rituals were becoming more elaborate. Every morning, Sariya arrived with a new offering: exotic flowers, intricate fabrics, rare Athean artifacts. In return, she expected Liam to reciprocate. "I don't know what to give her," he confessed to Dr. Helen Patel, the xenolinguist stationed at the outpost. "What the hell do I offer a woman who just gifted me a bottle of liquid sky?" Helen smirked. "You're in deep, Carter." "Yeah, no kidding." Helen tapped at her data pad. "Look, if you're serious about finding a way out of this, you have two options. 1. You figure out a way to formally dissolve the bond that doesn't offend Athean customs." Liam groaned. "And the second option?" Helen's smirk widened. "You actually go through with it." Liam gave her a horrified look. "That's not funny." "Who said I was joking?" Day 10. The turning point. By the 10th day, something changed. Liam found himself watching Sariya differently. She wasn't just a diplomatic liaison anymore. She was Sariya. Intelligent, graceful, endlessly fascinating. One evening, he found her outside the research station, standing beneath Velos 3's twin moons. The bioluminescent plants cast a soft glow across her skin, her ceremonial robes shifting in the night breeze. "You seem troubled," she observed as he approached. Liam hesitated, then sighed. "Sariya, I don't want to insult your customs, but I'm not sure I understand what's happening here." She studied him for a long moment. "You believe this bond was a mistake?" His throat tightened. I don't know." Silence stretched between them. Then, Sariya did something unexpected. She reached up and pressed her palm to his chest, right over his heart. For a brief, fleeting second, Liam felt everything. A warmth unlike anything he had ever known. A pulse, a connection, something deeper than words. His breath hitched. Sariya's voice was barely a whisper. "Do you wish to end this?" Liam should have said yes. He should have found a way out, protected the fragile diplomatic balance, salvaged his own logical, structured life. But instead, he swallowed hard and whispered, "I don't know anymore." Sariya's bioluminescence flickered, a subtle, shifting glow, and for the first time, Liam wondered if he had ever truly been in control of his fate at all. Liam's admission, that he no longer knew whether he wanted to dissolve the engagement, hung in the air between them like a living thing. Sariya's hand remained against his chest for a moment longer, her gaze searching his face, her bioluminescence shifting in a slow, rhythmic pulse. Then, she withdrew, inclining her head slightly. "That is an honest answer," she murmured. "And honesty is the foundation of any true bond." Liam exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah, well, honesty doesn't exactly help me figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do next." Sariya's lips curved in something that might have been amusement. "Then perhaps we should discover that answer together." And just like that, the conversation was over. But something had changed. Day 12, a lesson in Athean courtship. Liam, desperate to avoid making another cultural misstep, did what any sensible human in his position would do. He sought help. Dr. Helen Patel, ever the linguistics and cultural expert, was more than happy to assist. Possibly too happy. "So, you finally admit you need my expertise," she said with an unmistakable glint of amusement as they sat in the research center's common area. Liam groaned. "Don't start, Patel. I just need to understand what's expected of me." Helen tapped at her data pad. "All right, here's what I've gathered so far. Athean courtship is a highly ritualistic process. It's not just about liking someone. It's about demonstrating compatibility on multiple levels. Liam frowned. Such as? Helen scrolled through her notes. Well, so far, Saria's been presenting you with gifts, right? That's one of their key methods of expressing affection. The proper response is to reciprocate in kind, offering something of equal or greater value. Liam sighed. Great. So what? I need to find something better than a bottle of liquid sky. Helen smirked. Good luck with that. Day 15. The Gift of Fire. Liam had spent days trying to figure out what to offer Sariya in return. It had to be meaningful, something rare, valuable, something that spoke to her the way her gifts had spoken to him. And then, one evening, he found it. He stood outside Sariya's quarters, holding a small containment sphere in his hands. Inside, flickering like a captured star, was a single ember of living fire, a phenomenon unique to Velos 3's volcanic regions. The ember did not burn like terrestrial flames. Instead, it pulsed with an inner luminescence, shifting through colors Liam had no words for. When Sariya answered his call, she took one look at the sphere and went completely still. Liam hesitated. I thought you might appreciate this. Slowly, Sariya reached out and accepted the containment sphere. The moment her fingers touched the surface, the ember reacted, its glow shifting to match the rhythm of her bioluminescence. A breathless silence stretched between them. Then, she whispered, You offer me the heart of Velos? Liam winced. I mean, yeah? Sariya lifted her gaze to his, and for the first time since this entire ordeal had begun, he saw something in her expression that he recognized. Something raw, uncertain, and yet impossibly deep. You do not yet understand the gravity of what you have given me, she murmured. But you will. And then, without another word, she turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Liam standing there with his heart pounding in his chest. Day 20. The ceremony approaches. Time was running out. The Athean bonding ceremony was scheduled for the end of the 30-day period. If Liam didn't make a decision by then, if he didn't find a way to dissolve the engagement without offending Sariya and her people, then the bond would be sealed permanently. Commander Rains had not been pleased to learn that Liam was failing spectacularly at extracting himself from the situation. You were supposed to be working on a way out of this, Carter, Rains said through gritted teeth as they sat in the command center. Liam rubbed his temples. Yeah, well, things are complicated. Rains narrowed his eyes. Complicated how? Liam hesitated. He thought about the way Sariya had looked at him when he'd given her the ember of living fire. He thought about the way her voice had softened, the way her bioluminescence had pulsed in time with his own breathing. And, most troubling of all, he thought about how much he didn't want to disappoint her. I don't know, he admitted. Rains groaned, muttering something about scientists and their complete lack of self-preservation instincts. Look, Rains said, pinching the bridge of his nose. I get that she's fascinating, but you need to remember what's at stake here. This isn't just about you anymore. If you go through with this, you won't just be some botanist on a research station. You'll be the first human in history to form an official union with an alien species. Do you have any idea what kind of diplomatic precedent that sets? Liam swallowed. Yeah, I do. And that was the problem. Because for all the logical, practical reasons he should have been working to extract himself from this situation, somewhere, deep down, he didn't want to. Day 25. A confession. Liam found Sariya at the research station's observation deck, watching the swirling patterns of Velos 3's twin moons. She turned as he approached, tilting her head. You seem troubled. Liam exhaled, leaning against the railing beside her. Sariya, I need to be honest with you. Her gaze remained steady. You wish to end the bond. Liam opened his mouth, hesitated. Then, slowly, he shook his head. I don't know what I want, but I do know that I don't want to hurt you. I never meant to start this, but now that we're here, I don't want to just walk away like it meant nothing. Sariya studied him for a long moment. Then, to his utter shock, she smiled, a small, knowing curve of her lips. I knew, she said softly. From the moment you gave me the Varela bloom, I knew you did not understand what you had done. Liam blinked. Then why did you accept? Sariya reached out, brushing her fingertips against his wrist. The warmth of her touch sent a shiver through him. Because, she murmured, I wished to see what kind of man would make such an offer without knowing its weight. Liam's breath caught. And what did you find? Her smile widened, and her voice dropped to a whisper. I found someone worth waiting for. Liam Carter had always believed himself to be a man of logic. Data, evidence, and careful observation had guided his every decision. And yet, standing beneath the twin moons of Velos 3, with Sariya's touch lingering on his skin, he realized something terrifying. For the first time in his life, logic was failing him. The bonding ceremony was 5 days away. 5 days to make a choice that would alter not just his future, but the fragile relationship between humanity and the Athenians. 5 days to decide if he could truly walk away from Sariya, if he wanted to. The thought of leaving twisted something inside him. Sariya's words echoed in his mind. I found someone worth waiting for. And for the first time, Liam wondered if he had already made his decision without realizing it. Day 26. The council summons him. The next morning, Liam was summoned to a meeting with the Athenian High Council. This was not a casual invitation. Sariya met him outside the council chambers, dressed in the intricate robes of her people, her bioluminescence glowing in soft, shifting patterns. You are nervous, she observed. Liam let out a dry laugh. Is it that obvious? Sariya's lips quirked slightly. The council wishes to speak with you before the final ritual. This is an important moment, Liam Carter. They seek to understand your intentions. Liam swallowed hard. Right. No pressure, then. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. They will ask you why you chose to gift me the Varela bloom. They will ask if your heart is truly committed to this bond. Liam hesitated. And what if I don't have an answer? Sariya studied him for a long moment. Then, she reached out and gently placed her palm over his chest, right over his heart. You do, she whispered. You simply have not spoken it aloud. And with that, she turned and led him inside. Day 27. The question of commitment. The Athenian High Council was an imposing assembly. 7 elders seated in a circular formation, their bioluminescent skin shimmering like liquid light. Their gazes were intense, unreadable. Liam stood before them, feeling uncomfortably like a specimen under observation. An elder named Varesh, his skin a deep, shifting violet, spoke first. Liam Carter, you have unknowingly invoked a sacred bond. You now stand on the precipice of a decision that will ripple far beyond yourself. Liam nodded, his throat dry. I understand that. Varesh's gaze bored into him. Do you? Silence. Then, another elder, Miral, leaned forward. Her voice was softer, yet no less serious. Sariya is one of our finest scholars, highly respected among our people. If you were to accept this bond, you would not merely be bound to her. You would be tied to the fate of our people. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Liam's pulse hammered. He forced himself to meet her gaze. He hesitated, then exhaled sharply. I never meant to start this. I never meant to. He stopped himself. The words felt wrong. Slowly, he took a breath and tried again. I never expected this, he admitted. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter to me. Sariya is important to me. I don't know what the future looks like, and I won't pretend I have all the answers. But I do know that I don't want to walk away from this like it meant nothing. A pause. Then, Miral tilted her head. You do not offer certainty, only honesty. Liam swallowed. That's all I have. Varesh exchanged a glance with the other elders. Finally, he spoke. Then we shall see if honesty is enough. Day 29. The night before the ceremony. The final night before the bonding ritual, Liam found himself unable to sleep. The weight of the decision pressed down on him like an incoming storm. He stepped outside the research station, needing air, needing space, only to find Sariya already there, standing beneath the starlit sky. She turned as he approached. You are troubled. Liam let out a quiet laugh. You have a habit of stating the obvious. Sariya's expression softened. Tomorrow, you will stand before my people and give your final answer. If you choose to walk away, I will not stop you. There will be no anger, no resentment. Liam hesitated. And if I stay? Sariya studied him carefully. Then, slowly, she stepped closer. Then we begin something neither of our species has ever seen before. Liam swallowed hard. That's a lot of pressure. Sariya's lips quirked in a rare smile. Then let us face it together. And before he could second-guess himself, before his overthinking brain could analyze and dissect every possible consequence, he reached out and took her hand. Her fingers curled around his, her bioluminescence pulsing in time with his heartbeat. For the first time since this began, Liam felt steady, ready. He had his answer. Day 30, the final decision. The ceremony was a spectacle unlike anything Liam had ever witnessed. The Athenians had gathered beneath the great bioluminescent trees, their forms glowing in rhythmic patterns as an eerie, beautiful hum filled the air. The energy was palpable, ancient, sacred. Liam stood at the center of the ceremonial platform, heart pounding. Sariya faced him, her gaze unwavering. The elders watched in silence, waiting. Then, Varesh stepped forward. His voice rang out over the assembly. Liam Carter, you have come to this place as an outsider, yet you have been offered a bond most sacred. A pause. Now, you must speak your final truth. Do you accept this union? Will you walk forward, not as a researcher, not as a visitor to our world, but as one of us? Silence. Liam's pulse thundered. He looked at Sariya, at the quiet strength in her eyes, at the way her bioluminescence still pulsed in time with his own. And then, finally, he found his voice. I accept. The moment the words left his lips, the assembled Athenians exhaled as one, a soft, harmonic sound that reverberated through the air. Sariya's lips parted slightly, her bioluminescence flaring brighter. You are certain? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Liam squeezed her hand, a slow, steady movement. I am. And then, Sariya smiled. A true, unguarded smile that sent something electric through him. The elders raised their hands, and a ripple of light and sound cascaded through the assembly, a chorus of acceptance that seemed to echo across the very stars themselves. Liam Carter, scientist, human, accidental fiancé, had just made history, and for the first time since stepping onto Velos 3, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. The moment Liam spoke the words, the ceremonial glow of the Athenian assembly intensified, rippling outward in waves of radiant light. The harmonic hum deepened, vibrating in Liam's very bones. He had just made history. He had also, quite possibly, ruined his career, upended interspecies diplomacy, and permanently changed his entire life. But as Sariya turned to him, her bioluminescence shifting in elegant, rhythmic pulses, her dark eyes searching his with something close to wonder, he found that he didn't regret it. Varesh, the elder who had led the ceremony, stepped forward and placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. The gesture was unexpectedly firm. Welcome, Liam Carter, Varesh intoned. You are now bound to our people, our customs, and to Sariya. May your path be one of wisdom and honor. The gathered Athenians exhaled as one, releasing a synchronized sound, a ritualistic acknowledgement, almost like an approval from the stars themselves. Liam swallowed hard, feeling the weight of what he had just done settle onto his shoulders. I just married an alien. Commander Rains was going to have a stroke. Day 31. Consequences. The morning after the ceremony, Liam woke up with a pounding headache and the unshakable realization that he was now officially bonded to an alien woman. The research station's common area was already buzzing with activity when he walked in. Dr. Helen Patel was seated at the communications terminal, reading what looked like an urgent diplomatic message. Commander Rains, arms crossed, looked ready to either start drinking or start yelling. Rains turned at the sound of Liam's footsteps. Carter. Liam cleared his throat. Morning, sir. Rains inhaled slowly, rubbing his temples. You, he exhaled sharply. You have no idea what you've done, do you? Liam crossed his arms. I mean, I have some idea. The United Earth Diplomatic Corps has just issued an emergency communique. Rains slammed a datapad onto the table. They're demanding an explanation. Do you realize what this means? Liam stared at the glowing text. "Let me guess," he muttered, rubbing his face. "They're freaking out." Freaking out. Rains barked a laugh. "Carter, you are now the first human in recorded history to officially bond with an alien species. This isn't just a research outpost problem anymore. This is an interstellar relations crisis." Liam winced. Crisis feels like a strong word. Does it? Rains threw his arms in the air. "The Athenians consider you one of their own now. That makes you a diplomatic bridge between two civilizations. You're not just some scientist anymore. You're a damn political figure." Liam's stomach dropped. Helen Patel, who had been silently observing, smirked. "Told you it would come to this." Rains groaned. "The Earth Diplomatic Corps is sending a representative team to assess the situation. They'll be here in 1 week." Liam grimaced. "Great. Love a good surprise visit from the intergalactic bureaucracy." "This isn't a joke, Carter." Rains stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Do you understand what you've committed to? This isn't just some academic partnership. Athenian bonding is for life. There's no divorce. No backing out." Liam's throat went dry. He knew this, but hearing it spoken so plainly made it feel even more real. Day 35. Married life, sort of. If Liam had assumed that his life would return to normal after the ceremony, he was very, very wrong. For one, Sariya had moved into his quarters. Not that she had asked, or even announced it. It simply happened. Liam had returned from a long day in the greenhouse only to find his room reorganized with Athenian decorations. Floating crystalline structures, soft bioluminescent fabrics draped over the walls, and a strange, pulsing energy sphere in the corner that he could only assume was some sort of alien humidifier. Sariya was seated in the center of the room, adjusting one of the floating orbs. Liam blinked. Did I miss the part where we discussed moving in together?" Sariya turned, her expression calm. "You are my bondmate. We are to share space. This is customary." Liam exhaled, rubbing his face. "Right. Of course. Alien marriage customs. Should have seen this coming." Sariya tilted her head, observing him. "Does this arrangement displease you?" Liam hesitated. "I wouldn't say displeased, just surprised. Humans don't always move in together immediately after bonding." Sariya considered this, her dark eyes studying him. "Would you prefer separate quarters?" Liam opened his mouth, then paused. Would he? If someone had asked him that question a month ago, he would have immediately said yes. But now, standing here, watching the soft glow of Sariya's bioluminescence, feeling the quiet comfort of her presence, he wasn't so sure. "No," he admitted finally. "It's fine." Sariya's expression shifted, just the smallest hint of satisfaction. "Then we shall adjust," she said simply. Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah, adjusting sounds about right." Day 38, the first political test. 3 days before the diplomatic team arrived, Liam received an invitation. More accurately, a summons. The Athenian Council had requested that he and Sariya attend a formal gathering to discuss the implications of their bond. Liam frowned as he read the message. "Am I supposed to give a speech or something?" Sariya, seated beside him, regarded him with amusement. "You will be expected to answer questions." Liam groaned. Great. Love being interrogated by a room full of glowing aliens. Sariya's lips twitched in something close to a smile. "You will do well." Liam sighed, leaning back. "You have a lot of confidence in me, huh?" Sariya tilted her head, her gaze locking onto his. "It is not confidence," she said softly. "It is certainty." Something warm and unfamiliar spread through Liam's chest. For a moment, he forgot about politics, diplomacy, and the utter mess he had gotten himself into. For a moment, he just looked at her. And for the first time since this had all started, he wondered if fate had been guiding him here all along. The moment Liam Carter spoke his acceptance, the night itself seemed to come alive. The Athenian assembly let out a resonant hum, a harmonic wave that pulsed through the bioluminescent trees, sending cascades of light rippling through the sacred grove. Above, the twin moons of Velos, 3 shone brightly, bathing everything in their ethereal glow. Sariya turned to face him fully, her expression unreadable. Yet there was something in her eyes, something deep and unspoken that made Liam's breath catch. "You have chosen, Varesh," the elder declared, his voice carrying across the assembly. "And so the bond is sealed." A ceremonial attendant stepped forward, carrying a delicate, silver filigree circlet adorned with what looked like woven strands of living light. Slowly, reverently, he placed it upon Liam's head. It tingled, not unpleasantly, but in a way that made him feel as if the very air around him had shifted. Sariya inclined her head. "This signifies your union, not merely to me, but to my people. From this moment forward, you are no longer a guest of Velos, 3, but one of us." Liam swallowed hard. No turning back now. The assembled Athenians let out another harmonic chime, a chorus of welcoming voices that sent shivers down his spine. Sariya took his hands in hers, and for the first time, Liam didn't feel like an outsider. For the first time, he felt like he belonged. The aftermath. The next few days passed in a blur. The human research team was stunned. Commander Rains had paced back and forth in his office for a solid hour, muttering every expletive in the known galaxy before finally looking at Liam and saying, "Well, I hope you're ready for the political fallout, Carter, because you just changed the course of human history." Helen Patel had been far more amused. "You know," she had said with a smirk, "I thought this would end in some kind of diplomatic disaster. But you somehow turned this into a damn interstellar love story." Liam had groaned. "Don't start." But the reality was undeniable. Humanity had spent years trying to build bridges with the Athenians. Years of careful negotiations, cultural exchanges, and diplomatic maneuvering. And now, Liam had accidentally done what entire teams of ambassadors had failed to accomplish. He had forged a true union. A private moment. Late one evening, Liam and Sariya stood atop one of Velos 3's great cliffs, looking out over the glowing forests below. "You never intended for any of this to happen," Sariya said, her voice carrying in the night air. Liam huffed a soft laugh. "That's an understatement." A pause. Then, she turned to him, studying his face carefully. "And yet, you chose to stay." Liam exhaled, watching as the night breeze carried glowing pollen across the valley below. "I did," he admitted, "because I didn't want to lose you." Saria's expression softened. "You never would have," she whispered. Liam turned to her, something tightening in his chest. "Then why ask me to choose?" Saria's bioluminescence pulsed in slow, steady waves. "Because I needed you to understand that this," she gestured between them, "was always your choice." Liam swallowed hard. Then, with a slow, steady movement, he reached out and brushed his fingers against hers, a quiet, unspoken promise. Saria's glow brightened ever so slightly, and in that moment, Liam knew. He had chosen Velos 3. He had chosen her. And whatever the future held, whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them. Together.